But I spent 10 years being a mechanic for a dealer who never liked to buy parts, so let's just say I learned to do it the wrong way to make it right. Hey guys, Joe here, and in today's video we're going to take a look at something that's been frustrating me for the last 2 days, and that is a 2000 Ford Crown Victoria, and you'll see it here in the glamour shots. This is a car I bought from my buddy Daniel's mother. Very cheap-ish, 2021 cheap. And it has 220,000 miles. It has a myriad of problems. I'm going to show a lot of those when I do an actual video on this car, but for now, we'll go over what the main thing is. When we picked it up, needed a battery. Been sitting for a year, so that's not uncommon. Plus, it was an old dead battery. So I put a battery in it and starts right up. The parking, well, I'll go over all of that stuff in the actual video, but needless to say, it needed stuff. It had a misfire at 35 to 50 miles an hour. Felt like a coil pack was dead. 4.6s do that. It only can take a little bit of fuel before the filler neck starts leaking, and I haven't taken that off yet to see if it's something where I can just put a rubber line over it, or if that's screwed, or a fuel rated line over that to prevent it from leaking as I try to fill the gas tank. We'll see there. And otherwise it can only take a quarter tank at a time. And then there's a few other issues. Well, you're gonna watch me try to get into this thing, figure out what's wrong with it, get massively frustrated, and then we will figure it out. So keep watching all of this, wait till the end, use my links that you see pop up in the description, and just help the channel grow so that I can keep doing weird stuff like this. Also, you'll be seeing a full video of the car later. So let's get into it. This is actually coming out before the video that's going to be about what we're talking about today. It's a little hard to understand, but bear with me and we'll kind of walk through what we're doing. For those of you that know, I started a business with my buddy Daniel, and we've been driving around a lot. And that has meant I put a lot of mileage on my Chrysler 300. Mileage I don't want to put on it because it will kill it fast. So what I've decided to do was pick up a cheap, well, 2021 cheap beater that I can just drive around and not care about mileage or anything like that. And that is, it's a 2000 Crown Victoria. Again, I'll be doing a full video on it, but it's here at the house because we're going to talk about some of the flaws it has. This was Daniel's mom's car. Thanks, Mama Hill. But yeah, it's going to become our just run around, beat around car. It's got the typical Crown Victoria fender rot on the front, not the rear. Again, very common on these. It's got the 4.6 liter non-interceptor engine in it. Good motor, good engine. This one has 220,000 miles on it. It does have a little bit of a miss and it's filthy, so we are going to be actually cleaning it today before we do plugs in it. AC needs to be recharged. It has some pressure but not enough, and this. So do all that, and there's a couple other things we need to talk about. But for now, I guess what we need to do is to start by cleaning that engine. I'm using Purple Power, but I'm diluting it probably 33% to 66% water to Purple Power, because you don't need it to be full strength. However, I may wind up regretting that decision, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, spill it all over, why not? It's biodegradable, I think. It's an excellent degreaser, and it works well. I'll link it in the description if anybody sells it. And all you really do is just come on in here and just start spraying it. Soak everything down. Takes a few minutes, and you can start cleaning it off. And this will actually eat through a lot of this grease without doing any real work. I just wish I had a better spray bottle. So again, I'll come back after I've sprayed it all down and you can see what it looks like when it's wet. And then I'll show you what it looks like when we hose it off. You want to spray it slowly. And you also want the engine running so that you don't, flood out your engine. So that's the basics of washing your engine. I'm going to do that again just to make sure it gets clean. and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at it. One thing we're gonna do that I'm gonna do while this engine is drying itself off is I'm actually gonna finish charging the AC. I don't know if you can hear it out there, but it's actually kicking the compressor on because it had about 20 pounds in it, but it's a little bit low. So let's go over there and we're gonna do that right now. So you can hear the compressor kicking on and off. That's because it doesn't have enough pressure to keep it going. Luckily, this system is right here for the fill cap. So that's what we're gonna do now. Ah, nice bit of sun right through there, yeah. Hey, there's a good angle. So if you see, this particular can actually has a readout, and you can see that when it goes and kicks on the AC compressor, it's dropping from low to under its number. So what we need to do is just slowly fill it. Every can's a little bit different, but this one says to every 15 seconds or so, check it. So still dropping down pretty low. See, now we're dropping into the 20s and the AC compressor is staying on longer. But we want to be between 35 and 50 pounds when the AC compressor is running. Not all cans require you to do this, but I find it actually excites the Freon a little bit and actually helps it get drawn in. You can hear it's now reaching that level where the AC compressor is staying on for a very long time now. Long, long drawdown. I'm going to check the temperature. Yeah, it's ice cold now. And that's actually it for the can. Can is empty. But we do have ice cold air conditioning now. Check engine light has come on because I washed the engine. That's not unexpected, but that's also why we have these, and in the next section you're going to watch me change these out once I let the engine cool. But come back for that. So I think the next thing I'm going to tackle, now that the AC is done, I'm going to let the engine cool down and I'm going to pull the spark plugs out, and I'll show you how to do that, and may even make a separate video for it, but we'll do it quickly while we're getting this car up and going. Again, this is just going to be a runaround car. It doesn't have to be nice. I may make a few more changes to it, such as a newer radio, and probably see if I can find fenders in color. If I can find in color fenders for like 50 or 75 bucks, I'll change those out. Otherwise, I really don't want to do anything to this thing, just run it around and beat it into the ground at this point. But you need it to run good, and that's what we do here. It's what I did for 15 years. So, speaking of which, that's getting a rear end rebuild eventually, once all the parts get here. So, yeah, come back tomorrow. Well, tomorrow for me, it'll be like now for you, and you get to see the exciting spark plug work, and maybe that rear window. We'll see what happens. I'm going to start on this side, but first thing I'm going to do is take off the battery terminal. I might be able to wheel these out, although they also feel kind of loose already. So what I really need is an LED light bar, but I don't have one. So don't know how well you can see. There we go. You can see how dirty it is at the top, but the boot itself and the inside of the coil pack, it's a coil pack, not just a coil, looks like it's in good shape. I'm going to clean these off once I get them all out. But for now, let's just keep going. Ow! By the way, Ford, great design. Put your fuel rails directly above a coil pack. Because, you know, 5.4 never had any problems with that, did it? This one's been replaced. It's a different color, and it doesn't have a Motorcraft logo on the top. So somebody has been in this engine before. I just don't know when. That one is not tight at all. I bet you that was the main misfire. Looks like a couple of these have been replaced over time. I'm not going to show you taking all of them out. I'll take the other side out, take the plugs out, and we'll come back and look at those plugs. So what I've done is I've taken out all the spark plugs, and they're going from the back of the engine to the front here. And a couple of them are extremely whited out on their diodes, and a couple of them are wet. So a couple of them have some rust. That one obviously was misfiring. A couple of these as well. So I don't know when these were put in. Some of them say Motorcraft, some of them say Autolite. You can see some of them, well, yeah, there. Some of them have a blue band, some of them don't. So I think half of these are the original plugs. So next step is change those out, and then we will start the car in real time and see what she sounds like. Hey, all the coils are back in, all the plugs are back in. As you can see, I put the air filter and stuff back on. So I guess the only thing left to do is hook this battery up and see what the hell happens, right? So we got two of them that are misfiring, and they're the front ones on this side. So let's keep going. It's been late at night. It is late at night because I had to run out and get a couple of parts. And we're going to be working under the moonlight. Had to go get a couple of coil packs. These are just your cheap value craft part number C1417VC Crown Victoria ignition coils. So that's what we're going to be putting on it real quick, and then we'll see if that fixes it. There are two of them. However, there is a problem with one of the coil packs, which I will show you right now. Day 2 of the saga, and last night I had to think of certain ways to make things work. I also found a light that was better, but I needed to figure out how to make this thing run right, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to take a Dremel to the engine. It's always a good thing, right? So let me go ahead and grab a screwdriver so I can take the air intake back off, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if you can see there, the light is shining on a bolt. Try to do this. That one. That is stripped into the top of the intake on this thing, and I can't get it out. So what I have to do now is take a Dremel, cut it off, and then get back in there and see what I can do about getting a coil pack on there. So I'm going to do that now and come back to you as soon as it's done. Alright, I'm stupid. I went through all that trouble checking all the coils, and this injector was not hooked up. If you don't have an injector hookup, there's nothing for the spark plug to fire off. And if you're firing nothing, and guess what? Your engine's not getting any fuel, no spark, no run. So yeah, I still need to figure out a way to secure that down more securely with security. But yeah, I'm going to also go through all the whatchamafutsit, the doomababs, and see what happens. I'm really technical, but I'm going to put the intake back on and take it for a drive. So here we are, check engine light is still on, but I think that's just because I was running it without changing the battery, but we're going to go ahead and floor it. Yeah, it's not missing anymore, although this thing's just a rough pile of guts. But the good news is at least the AC works, so it doesn't seem to be misfiring anymore. I know that's really dark, but not much I can do about that. I'm doing this in the middle of the night, so I'm going to go ahead and call this one done until I get back to the garage, and then I'll do an outro. So I don't like to drive while filming, especially when I'm using an actual camera. So yeah, jump cut. Well, that's about it. This one wound up being one bad coil and a bunch of injectors that are not completely plugged in. So it needed plugs anyways. Probably had original plugs at least for a couple of the cylinders. But I did go ahead and put the coils in there and checked all the wiring. I'm either going to have to replace the pigtails, which is what I would prefer to do, or I'm just going to go the super Gajeto way, and I'm going to electrical tape the connectors onto the injectors. Being this is a 220,000 mile Ford Crown Victoria that I'm going to be driving, and I don't care that's probably what we're gonna do. I'm also gonna get some MAF cleaner, mass airflow meter cleaner. I don't have any here, and I didn't want to spray it down with brake cleaner because that's not always a good thing to do. Keep that in mind. But yeah, that's what I like to do, figure stuff out. This car had been sitting for a year, an entire year, and I got it back to running decent. It has good AC. It's not a powerhouse. It's a tired 4.6 liter V8 with 220,000 miles, the original transmission, all this stuff, but it will serve enough of a purpose or enough functionality to be useful as a parts getter, stuff getter in the area. Probably just gonna bomb the wheels with some Plasti Dip because I'm addicted to Plasti Dip, as well as I'm gonna probably, knock down the rust a little bit and just have Mako give me a $300 bomb job just to get it back to its original color. I'll do all that, and you'll be seeing an actual video on the car. Now that I got it running right, I'll actually do a video on it because I gotta take it over to the shop anyway. So why don't we plan on that? I'll do that, film it, edit it after you've seen this one. And yeah, so I'm sure all of you were screaming at me during this video. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Any questions, leave them down below. I'll put links to the parts I used and some of the things I have that I use when I work on stuff. Support the channel, help it grow, all that good stuff. And as always, I'll fail to fix things the first 6 times later.